Welcome to Unmuted, and I'm very happy to introduce Neil Kashishian here today. He's Vice President at one.O and the leader of our management and tech consulting team. And Neil has recently passed his first 100 days in his role, bringing with you a remarkable 20 plus years of diverse transformation experience, spanning professional services, e-commerce and retail. And you're also navigating various vantage points from advising as a consultant at EY with both internal and external experience to driving change from within global organizations like Allianz, Amazon, but also Amos Sports Leslie. So we're now hear your experience and your early perspectives on transformation within the Otto Group, the role of AI, and also the task of building trust as an internal advisor. So let's dive right into it, Neil, right? We're very happy to have you here today. What was your deciding factor to choose one.O and the Otto Group?
So first of all, Benjamin, thank you very much for the opportunity and very happy to be here. So actually there was a number of deciding factors, but I'll try to be brief. I think if I take a step back and look at the Otto Group as a whole, I found it a fascinating portfolio of group companies and services spanning really the end-to-end of the value chain. And I think that's really quite unique, not only in Europe, but in the world. And how cool is that you can go from sourcing to the platform to e-commerce to different brands? I think that's super exciting. And I think then if I take a step back and think about where one.O sits in that, from the digitalization journey, being the service provider and driving AI topics, that's kind of really the place where I want to be and where I want to drive all those topics for the group. From a personal standpoint, I find one.O and this international setup super interesting. I'm actually from Madrid and grew up there with Irish and American parents. So having a Spanish element to it is super interesting to me. And then closer to home here in Hamburg, my wife is from Ostfriesland, East Frisia. So I think it always helps to have the Northern German element to it. But I think for me, all in all, super interesting place to be. We're doing super interesting work. And I find the whole portfolio fascinating.
Interesting. So Neil, we are very happy to have you here. Like, it's such an international background, and also you have a lot of experiences when it comes to transformation of large organization. And I was thinking, like, is there a pattern you have seen, like why large organizations struggle with transformation?
Yes, there's a pattern in many topics. I've taken a step back on this question. I think for me, it's the organizations that do it properly treat transformation as a capability and a muscle, which means it's continuous. The ones who struggle and go through it is year one, we do one thing, year two, we do another thing, and it's something that someone else does in a different department or in a strategy department. And I think if you have a culture of openness and knowing that transformation is here to help you and we want to change, and it's even more prevalent now with AI, those are the companies that are the most successful. They can build a culture of openness and of the mindset of change, and that change is a good thing and let's embrace it.
Definitely. And when we talk about transformation these days, we can hardly talk about it without mentioning AI. How do you make AI from being a buzzword to actually being a reliable product in a daily life of our teams?
I think that's, Benjamin, that's a great follow-on from the mindset of transformation. I find that a lot of companies and individuals and companies think that AI is something happening to them, that someone else is going to think about it in a board setting or strategy setting, and they're going to come up with that and tell them what to do. I think those organizations who the board and the strategy teams and other teams have to figure out the framework and what tools you can use and the right wrapper around AI at enterprise level. But really, we should all individually be using AI on a daily basis as much as we can, testing it, trying it out, seeing what works for us, seeing what works for our teams. I personally use it every day on my 25, 30-minute drive to work. I have individual sparring with my AI tool for both professional and personal discussions. And it's really helping me to see the art of the possible and what's changing. So I think it's super important that everyone has a hands-on mentality with AI.
Definitely. And you just have to try it out, right? In everyday life and everyday operations. I also use AI a lot, like for our videos, cutting them, doing the interview questions and so on. So it helps me a lot. But also preparing for the interviews, like challenging the input and so on. What I found fascinating about your life so far is that you've worked like in both perspectives, like the internal consulting and external consulting. So could you explain what's the difference?
That is again a great question. I've had the privilege of working in both situations, and there is a nuanced difference, but it's a big difference. We're both similar skill sets, similar structures of teams, similar way that we work. The biggest difference in my mind for in-house consulting is that you have skin in the game, which an external consultant come in, they do some work temporarily, and then they leave. I think for us, we stay all the way throughout. And even if the work that we do is on the front end of more strategic nature, we still see the stakeholders every day in the canteen, by the elevator. And it's this kind of 6 degrees of separation that exist, that you have a much stronger, okay, I worked with Neil on this project 3 years ago. He's still here. I know who he is. And it makes it doubly more important for us to focus on our stakeholders. But it also makes it more important for us to really make sure that the quality of the work we're doing is of a very high quality, because people will remember you and you are still in the organization and you're part of it. But from the flip side, it makes it really cool because we're able to see the fruit of the work that we do. And we're there to work through with clients all the way through. And that's why I really enjoy the setup that we have.
Yeah, definitely. I also really appreciate all the work you are doing in your projects. Like I've also had an interview with Jill and Lisa on the ACT project. It's a very nice lighthouse for our consulting team. And I think one word when it comes to in-house consulting is like the basic for everything is like trust. And how do you build trust across teams and brands within the organization?
That is a great question and a great connector to the previous question, which is all around having skin in the game. So from my perspective, to be a very effective in-house consultant, whether you're in a consulting team or whether you're a product person in one.O or something somewhere else where you're consulting with individuals in the group, is really to take an interest in the stakeholders you're working in, a genuine interest, and spend more time at the beginning asking questions than showing your methodology, showing the work that you're doing. From a personal standpoint, I put great emphasis here in the Otto Group on speaking in German to the stakeholders. And I do that on purpose. It's obviously not my first language, but I want stakeholders to know that I'm coming to them, that I don't expect them to come to me, and that's a way of showing respect, and it's a way of showing trust. And I think one kind of reflection on building trust generally as a consultant is, I would say we need to put curiosity before credibility. And what that means is let's show a genuine interest in the stakeholders we're working with, where they're coming from, how they're thinking, what hobbies they have, who they are as individuals, before we go straight into, let me show you the product, let me show you the methodology and all these things. And I think if you show that, you can have a very strong perception in company, you can have a very strong reputation, and then people will enjoy working with you. And it's a people's business at the end of the day.
Yeah. That was like a perfect final answer, I'd say. Thank you for this, and thank you for your time, Neil. It was very nice to have you here. We as a one.O are very happy to have you in the team. And I'm really looking forward for all the exciting projects you will do with your consulting team. Really appreciate your work, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you.